Right, 11 September 2020, and I'm joined by Mr. Jethro Rusike from JCTV Zimbabwe. How are you, sir?
I'm very good. How are you?
Fantastic. And today we are going to be quickly looking at the abductions. There was a report from ZBC which says that the MDC Alliance 3 women, that is Joanna Mamombe, Cecilia Chimbiri, and Nutsai Maroa, claimed that they were abducted. And they gave evidence that those abductions were actually fake. And the evidence was almost forensic in nature. So I want us to discuss that, your views on that, and then let's see if we can conclude on whether the MDC Alliance is faking these abductions or they are real. So have you seen this evidence that was presented by ZBC?
Yes, I've watched the video, I think 3 or 4 times. And the first thing that came to my mind when I was watching this video, there are some missing information in the whole video. The first missing information that I found was the issue of the geolocations. The geolocations that are mentioned in that video are not conclusive, because when you talk of geolocations and you don't include the CCTV footage, and you and I are aware of the Kawanda Mchehiwa abduction, which sparked an outrage because there was the issue of the Impala car rental, which was clearly seen from the CCTV footage. But in this case of Joanna Mamombe, the CCTV footage that was seen, it's not conclusive. You cannot see it with a naked eye. Even if you try to zoom in, all the pictures are pixelating. You cannot even make a conclusion that this car, the number plate that they were talking about, is the one that Joanna Mamombe was talking about. So that is the first thing that is one of the sticking point on that video, which I expected that when they said they've unmasked the MDC Alliance abductions, they would present that evidence that here is the CCTV footage and it's purely conclusive. And the longevity of them taking time to present that evidence to people also raises questions, because when we talk of the abduction that happened to Kawanda Mchehiwa and the one that happened to the likes of Joanna Mamombe, this happened way back in May, but the Mchehiwa one happened in July, and the CCTV footage was available for everyone to see so that they can quell all the doubts in people's minds. So that is one sticking point on the evidence that was presented on the ZBC video.
Okay, so in your opinion, are you saying that there was a real abduction? This was not a fake abduction?
Yes, according to the evidence presented by Tim Pachelu, and I was also analyzing the same evidence, and as I was doing my analysis yesterday, I realized also that this abduction happened. Of course, there might be other players who might be involved in the abduction, probably that are not the government. But for me, the evidence that was presented cannot satisfy me that this abduction was faked or it was done by the MDC themselves, because as I told you that in the video, there is in the geolocation, they say that the trio drove to the Fidelity Life Towers, where Zimbabwe Human Rights Doctors offices is. But in that video, you cannot, in that video, there is no CCTV footage, even in the surrounding area, to show that the trio drove to that location. And the number 2 issue is that they say that they drove again to the old mutual building where Nelson Chamisa's offices are, and there is no footage of any CCTV camera of the surrounding buildings that was presented in that video. And also the other thing that is also there is, why is it that they are just talking of the evidence that is seen on the footage that was obtained from the Chicken Inn restaurant, and why not in other places? Are they saying that all these places they don't have any CCTV footage? For me, it's not conclusive. I really believe that this abduction actually happened.
Okay, so I'm hearing you, and I want to quickly play what Dr. Shingimunyeza said soon after the abduction. I want us to look at what he said, and then maybe we can continue to discuss this. So this is what he said soon after the abduction.
One of the things that have not been well with me is the happenings of last week, when 3 ladies were taken up, abducted, and were abused physically, and they were abused sexually. They were left for dead. I can't stomach that. Any of those girls would have been my daughters, because why would we have such? Why do we continue to have that? We have enough a situation with COVID, a bad economic environment, bad leadership, and a deteriorating social environment. And then we put on top of that this behavior. But let me tell you, in some way I wasn't shocked, because we have evil men presiding over an evil system, and whose main purpose is to maim, to brutalize, to corrupt for their own selfish gains, and to hold on to resources.
Right, I think you have seen what Dr. Shingimunyeza said there about the abduction. He is an advisor to Idim Nangabu.
Yeah.
So the question I want to ask you is the motive, because it's not clear to me. Why would the government of Zimbabwe abduct these 3 young women? Dr. Shingimunyeza says it's because they're evil. Is that enough?
What you find probably in the strong men of the world, or be it in any government where there is a probably repressive government, or the government is not happy with the way how things are done, you find players that will come into place, or you find that government will try to use means to deter people from speaking out. That is what you always find. So for me, I would say that it is, the possibilities there, and you can see that from the demeanor of Mr. Shingimunyeza, being the advisor to the current president, you can tell that there is now bad blood between him and the president, because he has always been now speaking out, and you can see in his videos he's talking about that the government is not good and all of that. And I don't think he's still in good books with the president as we speak. So personally, I feel that as much as we would want to deny the fact that this thing actually happened, the evidence on the ground tell us otherwise. Because how can the MDC fake an abduction? What achievement will they get from that? Even if they are going to get international outreach, what does it benefit the people of Zimbabwe? That's number one. Number two, what does it benefit their political aspirations? Does it mean that it is going to force ZANU-PF to resign because they've been they are being accused of abduction? So for me, it does not hold water to say that MDC, they might effect abduction so that they can get international outcry, because it does not benefit them as the MDC, does not benefit their members, does not benefit their quest for them to go into office, maybe whether in 2023 or in any other time. So I don't think that they would go that route. What does it benefit them? But on the government side, they are the ones that can force people not to speak out, so that they are deterred from doing protests, you saw that there were protests that were stopped because they said that you are trying to subvert the will of the people. You are trying to overthrow the government that was democratically elected. But in a democratically elected government, you have people who protest. Here in South Africa right now, the people who were protesting against the cliques. It's a public company, and people have the right to protest against public company. People, they also have the right to protest against public officials. And that is exactly what people in Zimbabwe are not allowed to do at this point in time. You saw that there were so many protests that were banned, so many protests that were not allowed to take place because they say that they have an agenda, they have a regime change agenda. So I think that MDC cannot do this because it's not going to benefit them.
Let's go to the inconsistencies that were there in the evidence that was presented by the three girls. For example, how do you explain them being on the phone after they were abducted? How do you explain them appearing on CCTV camera? What was happening there?
Yeah, those inconsistencies can be like, probably like all of us, we know that you can be, let me give for example, like here in South Africa, you can be held at gunpoint whilst at an ATM and you are told to act normal. That is possible. If you are under abduction, that can happen. That someone can tell you that they can say that they were on the phone, because when you're abducted, you do not have time even to take your phone and to call your friends and all of that, because you are under the command of your abductor. So under that command, you can be told to do something that will incriminate you in the future. And that is possible, that these girls were told to drive around in certain areas in order for them to incriminate them in the future if they are going to appear in the court of law. Because obviously these people, when they were doing these operations, they are not dumb. They do them in such a way that they don't want to be pointed back at to say, you are the ones that did it. So the inconsistencies for me, they do not hold water, because they can be done by the abductors. But what if we had a conclusive evidence that we saw these people probably at a public place having fun, or maybe sitting around with friends, and there is conclusive evidence of them sitting there? That's when I would say, okay, this evidence or their statements are inconsistent with the law. So because you can be abducted and told to stay in the car and act normal, and it's possible. So I think for me, it's the inconsistency does not hold water. These girls could be there whilst under the watch of their abductors.
Okay, how come they have not come out to deny the statement that it was them who was traveling that car, who went to that chicken inn? We have not seen a statement from the girls about this issue. Why do you think that's the case?
Remember, according to the judgment that was given, they are not allowed to communicate with the public. Hence, even right now, you can see they are not even present on social media. They cannot make any statements to the media, because their case is under sub judice. So obviously, for them to come out and start to deny those statements, it will be breaking the terms of bail and the terms of their bail conditions that were given. So that is the reason why they cannot come out and start now to make statements to try and defend themselves. They just have to wait for the court to do their job.
Okay, I understand that when they were examined by medical doctors, there were no injuries that they claimed they had. How do we explain that?
Remember, there were also other issues. There are other issues that can come to play in this scenario. That you remember that journalists were not allowed to come into to visit the trio when they were now in hospital. Number one. Number two, the doctors who were there. I mean, the MDC members were not allowed to be there. They were not allowed to visit them. In the interim of that, you remember what happened on August 1st when the people were gunned down. The doctors were ordered to write that the people were died, or the pathologists were ordered to say these people died out of stable wounds. People were told that the cause of death was not a gunshot. And until the people protested and said that we are not going to accept that because we saw our family members being gunned down. So there is a possibility that those statements or those examinations could have been altered in order to favor a narrative that is to incriminate these three girls.
Okay, I think you have completely answered each and every point in that report by ZBC. But I think for people who have not seen it, let us play this video from ZBC, just the point where they are trying to debunk. They made 10 points. So I want to play those 10 points, which the ZBC made on why the girls' claims were false. So I'm just putting that on the screen now, and then we'll continue to play it.
Armed with this evidence, investigators disproved the three women's claims of abduction. Critically, they established 8 facts. 1. Cecilia, Joanna, and Nitai lied that they did not participate in the demonstration in Warren Park. 2. They also lied they were at Marimba Shopping Center at the time protesters were marching in Warren Park. 24-hour surveillance footage at Marimba does not show them either arriving, shopping, or leaving. 3. The three changed their claims regarding their alleged arrest. Initially, they claimed to have been arrested at the National Sports Stadium, but later alleged to have been arrested at a police roadblock near the Harare Exhibition Park, commonly known as Showgrounds. 4. They never used Samora Machel Avenue at the time in question. CCTV footage from businesses along the section of road of interest does not show them or their vehicle. 5. The three claim to have been arrested between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m. However, data from cellular tracking technology shows they were elsewhere at that particular time. 6. In official statements, they alleged assailants drove them to an unknown location between 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. However, both CCTV footage and cellular tracking technology placed them at Belgravia Shopping Center at 4:45 p.m. 7. Cecilia's mother hails from Uchapondwa, the same place where the three politicians re-emerged on May 14th. The sheer coincidence was curious. 8. The vehicle was parked opposite Harare Central Police Station on May 16th and not May 30th, as the women claim. But to eliminate any doubt, detectives dug up evidence on the three women's internet activity on May 13th, 2020, where data shows that all three blocked incoming calls on their cell phones but kept the mobile data function operational. Joanna Mamombe was online until after 9 p.m. on the day she was allegedly abducted. An empty cell phone package was later discovered in their vehicle, suggesting that they used that new phone for their web activity. Investigators also came across the three women's regular cell phones in the Mercedes-Benz, but the new phone was nowhere to be found. Their original assets were found under a bag in the footwell behind the driver's seat. Empty fast food packaging was also discovered in the vehicle. As detectives searched for more clues, the MDC Alliance continued with its abduction allegation.
Kusanganisira kukarwa kuti kuburikidza nekwanozibatsira nako kusanganisira kuzvindikitwa usiku hwese pasi petsoka nekumakumbo vachichekwa nereza kumusana vamwe vatogoni kana kurara vane kutambudzika kukuru nokurwadziwa kukuru.
Reports by doctors who examined them in hospital show no evidence of physical abuse. All three did not have bruises, despite claiming that their alleged abductors.
Right. I think we've played the key part of this video.
Yes.
From this evidence that was presented, what are your thoughts? Let's try to go through it.
Okay.
Do you think something here that stands out in support of the government's position?
There are some other points that are not highlighted in this video. The first point that I wanted us to look at is the issue of the CCTV footage in the Marimba Park district. That CCTV footage was not presented on this video to show that probably with the timestamps that this is what happened, which is point number one. That CCTV footage is not shown. And then we come to the issue of the inconsistency of their statements that then there's the first issue of their participation in the demo. Their participation in the demo was clear. We can say that these guys, they participated in the demo and the pictures were actually there. Even before they were abducted, I even saw the pictures of them participating in the demo. If that statement was altered, that means that there is some inconsistency in their statements as the trio. So that is one statement that sticks out for me on the side of the government, which the government can use, that they said they did not participate in the demo, yet they are V11 of pictures, which shows that they did participate in the demo. And I also saw them, those pictures of them participating in the demo. And that was also a reason why they were arrested in the first place. According to the first statement that was released, that they were arrested for participating in a demo and they were doing something, they were breaking the law. So for me to say that, that is another statement that I thought we could also look at, that the government can say there is inconsistency on their statement. Maybe let's continue to the next one.
Okay, let's look at the one where Joanna Mamombe was on her Twitter, Facebook, and all the other social media platforms. What could have happened there if the phone was later found under the Mercedes-Benz seat? Because the Mercedes-Benz was not there on the day. You saw that the guy who parks in that spot says the car was not there.
Yeah.
So what would explain Joanna Mamombe, Cecilia Chimbiri, and Netsai Maro being on social media at that time?
If you watch the video, I mean the statement by Tawanda Mcheiwa when he was talking, there is a time when he was asked to, when they asked for the cell phone password and asked for everything on the phone, and when they did that, they actually asked him to send a message to one of the, I can't remember the name of it, but they wanted to set a trap for the sister to the Zim Live editor. And they allowed him they sent a message to him, to the lady, using his phone. So the presence of these three on social media is conclusive, in the sense that when you are abducted, you don't have much of a choice. You are at the mercy of the person who is abducted you, because they threaten you with life, to tell you that if you don't comply, we're going to torture you. If you don't comply, we might kill you. So because you are at that point, you can give up everything, because what is dear to you at that particular point is your life. You don't care about them having access to your social media. You don't have free. You are begging for your life. You are saying that if you don't, if you am going to give you, are you going to spare you my life? That is what is at your mind at that particular point. So for me to say that even their presence on social media can be explained, that the abductors demanded the passwords from their cell phone, demanded them to comply, otherwise they'll face death or they face more torture. And you know, you're dealing with women, they quickly panic and they give up everything. You know that people can be asked to give their password of even their account number, and they give them up because they're under their captor. And that is what what might have happened at this particular time.
Okay. Then in their statement, they said that they were made to drive to the police station. And so is that consistent with what happened with the car being found where it was found and them being said to have been driven into the central police station? Is there no CCTV footage at the Harare Central Police Station which can be produced to show the period which they said?
That is also another point that I was not presented on this documentary, because there is no CCTV footage to show when the car arrived and it was parked. And if you check, there are 6 exhibits that were presented by Tim Pachelu, and one of them was that the car that was parked, that was presented as the car where Netai Chimbiri was trying to get out of the vehicle. It didn't have a fuel cap on the right side, which is the driver's side. But the car that was parked at Harare Central Police Station, it did have a fuel cap on the right side. That is another point. And also, there is no CCTV. I'm not sure if Harare Central Police Station have a CCTV, but surely in the vicinity, there must be somewhere where a CCTV footage can be obtained by the order from the police, where they can see the time when they claim that to have been at Harare Central Police Station, and they can bring that evidence. That evidence was not produced on this investigation. So that also leaves us with questions more than answers. And in this case, this documentary was supposed to quell all the doubts that these guys faked an abduction. And for them to quell all those doubts, they were supposed to present the CCTV footage of the trio driving to Fidelity Life Towers, the trio driving to Harare Central Police Station, who parked the car, and all of that. Because you cannot claim that people faked an abduction and not present evidence that negate your argument. So I really think that there are a lot of things that are not coming out clean in this whole investigation, which even the general public cannot be convinced that these people faked an abduction by this mere video that was presented by ZBC. It leaves more questions unanswered.
Okay, so I think we've covered it. And in your opinion, this abduction was genuine and the girls were really abducted. It's only that the abductors were smart. They anticipated that there was going to be an investigation, and they decided to cover all their bases. I've got guys who are calling me who want to join the live. But what I would like to say is, if you want to join the live, you have to WhatsApp me so that I can send you the link. So unfortunately, I can't answer your phone call at the moment. I need you on the live. So the guys who want to join, you can WhatsApp me and I'll send you the link to join, and you also be live on this discussion. So let's go to motive.
Yes.
You said the motive is that they want to stop people from demonstrating.
Yes.
And Dr. Shingimieza said the motive is that Idi Mnangagwa's government is led by evil people. Why then do people like Dr. Shingimieza not leave their positions in Idi Mnangagwa's government if it's doing this kind of thing?
That is also another point. I think probably there's one of the videos that I was talking about this, and the issue is that why Shingimieza is not leaving the post that he has, and even the likes of Trevor Nube here in South Africa. Why are they not leaving their post as advisors to the president? Probably they think that they might have a chance to speak to speak to the president and tell him of their grievances or their dissatisfaction on the issues that are happening, or the crisis that Zimbabwe is facing. But also there is one thing, one other issue that I wanted to point out, which might be a possibility in this situation. You can see that. Let me give, for example, you look at Paul Kagame in Rwanda. Look at the type of bodyguards that he has whenever in his entourage. And then you look at our own president, his entourage that he has. You can see that there's two differences that is there. There is people that are inside our president's entourage that he does not even trust, or there is so much there's people that are there that the president does not trust. And the other thing that you can also look at is that when there are finer details that the exiled Professor Jonathan Moyo gets to get before we, the general public, can get, it means that there are people that are inside E.D. Mnangagwa's government, or that are working in the intelligence, that are leaking out information. And that possibility is there, that they might be people who are there to tarnish E.D. Mnangagwa's government, and they are working in the military, they are working in the government security structure, and they make sure that they can do a clean job, and it does not point back to them. But because they are part of the government can then not come back and say that it was our guys, but they've reprimanded them. They will continue with the narrative that MDC faked the abduction. So in either way, you find that the government might not be sure of they don't have the answers. And also the MDC are saying that we were tortured by the real people and we don't even know them. We do not fake the abduction. The government is saying on the other side, we do not know who did it, but there are people or elements or the third hand that people are always talking about, that is inside the government, that is working in order to tarnish the image of the sitting president, so that they can gain mileage by soiling the name of E.D. Mnangagwa, even though he is not part of that. But because they are inside, they can do the clean job without anyone noticing them. They can go ahead and do it whilst blaming the issue on the opposition. That is another possibility, because you ask yourself, why is it that now the president is so heavily guarded? There is so much security detail that is around him. What is the cause of that? Is it that there is no trust in the army that he has, or what is causing people not to trust the security detail that even Robert Mugabe had?
Okay. Are you still hearing me, Mr. Rusike?
I can hear you loud and clear.
All right. So what I want to do here is I want to play a video that I made, because people are asking me my opinions.
Yes.
There is one sticking point that I had on this whole situation. So I want to play you this video that I made, and we've got someone who's joined. So I'm going to add them after a few minutes. And let me just add them and tell them so that they don't go away. And hello, sir.
Hello, Mr. Kambakwe. Are you okay?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Yes, I just want to highlight a few things in respect of the alleged abduction.
Okay.
Yes, I've seen a lot of people critiquing the video that was released, which is fair. But here's the thing. We have to understand that the evidence that was presented in the video should not be used in isolation. We should not selectively critique the video. In other words, we have to understand that the evidence presented is inextricably and symbiotically connected. There is a lot of evidence that was presented. There is evidence from the WhatsApp messages, which doesn't relate to the statements given by the girls. So, what is your response to that? Then there are medical reports as well, which are again against what the girls said in their statement. How do you respond to that as well? So it's not just about the CCTV, but it's also about the other pieces of evidence presented. So it doesn't help us to critique one thing, leaving 4 other things. And that is my point.
So I agree with you. Evidence must be looked at in its totality. And
yes.
Yes, Mr. Rusike is giving an opinion, obviously based on his own point of view. But,
yes, which is fair, which is okay. He's entitled to that. But Mr. Rusike, here's the thing: we can't take one piece of the puzzle and try and come up with a narrative based on that one piece. We have to take everything together. And if you want to critique everything. Critique from the WhatsApp messages that were sent at around 2 after the time they were alleged to have been abducted. So how do you explain that? Then there's the issue of the car. There's the issue of the statements. The girls first said they were arrested at National Sports Stadium, then they said they were arrested at showgrounds. That again shows an incoherence in terms of their statements. They say they were beaten, they were thrown outside of a car, a moving car, etc. But according to medical reports, they're saying something else which is diverging from that narrative. So if you want to critique, take everything and then critique the medical report, critique the WhatsApp messages, critique any other piece of evidence presented. For example, the triangulation that they used using the mobile network. Then critique that as well. If the girls have evidence to present to exonerate themselves, then they should. This is the time to do that. But of course, this is not a court of law, and they're not mandated to present it to anyone outside here. But and we should also put into consideration that the video released is not the primary video. It's not the raw CCTV footage. So you can't zoom in. You can't zoom in. For example, what you're talking about, the fuel cap thing, you can't zoom in because it's not the raw CCTV footage. If you do that, it becomes blurred. But if you go to the raw CCTV footage, you can actually zoom in. So these are some of the technicalities that you have to put into consideration that were given a secondary piece of evidence, and the primary one will obviously be authenticated when submitted to the courts of law. So that's the other thing that I wanted to highlight before we run with a narrative which has not been tested.
Right, Tinokunda, I guess that's your name. Tinokunda, that's the name I'm seeing on the display. Is that your name, sir?
Yes.
Right, I want to ask you a final question. Do you believe that these girls faked their abductions, or this was real, or this needs to be tested in court?
I don't want to conjecture. But according to the evidence presented, I'm incredulous to believe that the abduction did take place. Although in history, some abductions have occurred, and no one can deny that. But like I said, I don't want to conjecture. Let's wait for the courts to take their course and do their job. So yeah, thank you.
All right, fantastic. Thank you very much for joining us. And
I wanted to respond.
Okay, you can respond to him when he's off, because I want him to off the live so that other people can join up with a number of other people.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so thank you very much, Tinokunda. And Mr. Rusike, before you respond, I want to play a video for you that I made. And then I respond to what Tinokunda said. So this video, I made it about a week after the abduction, and I want to play it for you. right, 7 June 2020, and today I want to give you a new twist in the case of Joanna Mamombe, Cecilia Chimbiri, and Netai Maroba, who were abducted a few weeks back. We covered this story a lot. However, today there's a new story in the Sunday Mail which claims that Joanna Mamombe, who is married to Mfundo Mlilo, was having an extramarital affair with a Harare man who is also a member of the Zimbabwe Intelligence or Central Intelligence Organization. So this man is called Andrew Manongore, and he's apparently someone who is... Right, so I think you saw that piece that I played there. Joanna Mamombe was dating or is dating the man who owns that car, and he's a member of the Zimbabwe Central Intelligence Organization.
Yes.
Does this add up?
It adds up in the sense that there are a lot of gray areas in this abduction that I've pointed out that it could be another force that is inside the government that is working against the government in order to paint the government in a different picture than what we see on a daily basis. And him being part of the intelligence, it also raises questions, because you ask yourself, why is Joanna Mamombe dating someone who is who you are opposing in court? Like, there are some things that do not make sense to me, because like in the issue of their political aspirations, obviously you can't be in the enemy's camp and yet you claim that you hate that enemy, and you date someone, or you are dining with your enemy. So for me, there are some things that do not make sense as well to me, that the MDC alliance people are doing in this case. And also then the source of where this news broke, there are also some questions that you also come with, that what was the motive of the Sunday Mail releasing such kind of information to the public? Why did they release it at such time like that, that this man, this lady, who is part of the fake abduction, is dating a man inside ZANU-PF? There are some things that do not add up in this whole thing. Maybe before I continue, I wanted to look at the story that Tinokunda was talking about. There's another man who's saying the proof of relationship. Tinokunda was saying that the information that is there, that is presented, there is evidence in the past that information can be tampered with, be it your medical reports, as I highlighted earlier on, and then the issue of the WhatsApp. I pointed it out to you that it's possible for one to comply with their abductor once so their presence online can only be proven beyond reasonable doubt if the person made probably a phone call or send a voice note. But that also can happen, that you can be told to send a voice note by your abductor and pretend that everything is normal. And that the evidence that I was looking for in this scenario was the evidence that these people were somewhere, and there is evidence that they were online and waiting maybe for a signal from someone. If they made voice calls, obviously if they were online and they then presented themselves on the day when they were found out in the Muchapondo area, if they presented themselves in that time, obviously they must have been talking to someone, and that evidence was not presented. Obviously, it's not our job for us to present that evidence. But in a case that is sparked international outrage, you ought to present something that can counter your argument that we are saying that we do not play a hand in this. Show us, the public, that the narrative that these people are talking about, we have another narrative. Just like as I said that the issue of Tawanda Mchei was evidence that made Impala car rental to be in hot water a few days ago was because the evidence, the CCTV footage was presented to everyone. It was there. Why did they opt to present CCTV footage that was blurred instead of presenting a CCTV footage that is conclusive so that everyone can be in the know-how? Because this is an issue of public interest.
Okay, so I think the comments are hitting up, and I want us to obviously bring this to a close. And in my own opinion, as I said to you, there is a lot in Zimbabwe politics happening, and I think there's a lot of mistrust of the intelligence services. I want to tell you that most people have never even seen a member of the intelligence. They don't know who, like if they think of members of the intelligence, they think they are people who don't go to their church, who don't live in their communities.
Yes.
And I think the wrong perception of the intelligence. And I blame the Zimbabwe intelligence for failing to educate people that out of the 30,000 people that work in Zimbabwe security services, 30,000 to 50,000 people, they are good people. The majority of the people are good people. But you can also get arrested by members of the intelligence. Are we not seeing here people just saying every time someone is arrested, they are abducted?
Yes. That is also a possibility. As I said that, let's look at this. You know that the former president Robert Mugabe, he had sympathizers, he had his apologists who worked under him, and some of them have not left the security services. Some they just danced according to the tune that was there of the new sheriff in town. But that is where the problem is, and that is the reason why this government is failing. I mean, to cover all those leaks. That's where the information leaks. That's where all the dirty things can be done by those people who want to sell another narrative to the world that look at this government is failing. These are the things. Like you look at the issue of Bopo Chimono when he was arrested. There are people who are feeding him information that are inside the government, and those are the same people that make the narrative to be different. So coming to your question, that someone can say that I have been arrested and they claim that they've been abducted. This is caused by those people that they are enemies who are working with each other, that are inside the same camp, and no one knows who is working for who, because everyone is just thinking that we are singing the same tune, but yet someone is actually singing a different tune. So that is where confusion starts to come, and you do not know who is on which side. That is the challenge that this government is facing of starting a government whilst the security detail has people that are disgruntled, but they cannot speak out because they are already inside the system. And there are people who are disgruntled by the departure of the former president, but they were still put in the system. And obviously, you cannot flush everyone out and say you are going out. And also, the people that are inside, they also leave friends who also still sympathize with them. And that leaves a lot of confusion. And that in that confusion, that's where the problem lies. So you cannot pinpoint that who is doing this, who is doing this. And that is the problem that the government of Zimbabwe is facing at this point in time.
Okay, Mr. Rusike, I want to close this, but before I close, I want to tell you a story. In 2003, I was in Bulawayo. I was a regional manager there for a bank. And one Saturday, I went into town, and as I went to my office, and then as I was coming out of my office, my wife was sitting in the car. I had a double cab. That was in 2003. And as I was walking to my car, I saw 4 guys walking towards me. In front of them was a riot policeman with a big gun, I don't know, AK-47. And as I greeted him, he pointed the gun at me.
Mm.
And he told me to show him my hands and what I was holding. That was 10 a.m. And at that time, my office was opposite the Blawayo Central Police Station and the Blawayo City Hall. So they pointed the gun at me, and 11 other guys appeared from around me. And they forced me into my car. But what happened is the 5 guys sat at the back of the double cab. The one guy jumped to the front, and the 11 guys jumped at the back. I don't know how they did it. Then they drove me into the police station. So the first thing they did was they drove me into the police station. And when we got into the police station, they first of all took me to their senior. So they didn't just take me to a car and go with me. They first of all took me to my senior, asked me about my identity, and then from 10 a.m., I was with the police until 5.
Mm.
I did not know what they took me. They didn't tell me. When I went to, so they took me out of my car, and when we came out of their senior's office, they put me in their car. They made me sit at the back between 2 guys, and on my feet, there were 2 AK-47s. I was literally sitting on 2 AK-47s. And they told me to put my head down and hold the seats. You know, the seats at the front?
Yes.
I was holding those seats, and we're driving, and I didn't know where we're going.
Mm.
So we drove around like that so that was 10 until about 12. 2 hours, they were just driving around. Then after some time, they told me to sit up. And then they took me to my house. They went there and they searched. All this time, they hadn't told me why they were searching me. And then at 5 p.m., they took me back to the police station. I didn't eat anything. Every time when they were searching my house, I had to stand here, and 2 guys were standing around me. Then at 5 p.m., they took me back. My wife was like 8 months pregnant at that time. She was still sitting in the same spot that I left her when we left with those guys. And then after we went back to the Blawayo Central Police Station. They just said, "Fine, you can go." Like that. Up to this day, the only reason why I end up being released is because my company lawyers, the company I was working for, were looking for me. So maybe, is it that maybe there's poor training in the Zimbabwe intelligence services, which makes them take this kind of methods with people when they're trying to arrest you? They make these mistakes, and then they end up trying to cover up. Are they properly trained to deal with a suspect?
Yeah, that is another point. Like, if you recall how Hopo Chingono was arrested, they broke the door of his house. They didn't have a warrant of arrest. You saw in the live video that was shown that they said comply, and they shouted at him. And that's not how you arrest even a criminal. That's not how you arrest a citizen who is not aggressive. If someone is aggressive, they are told that's when you come with full force. But if someone is just calm, no problem, they say, you tell them, "I've got a warrant of arrest for you," you do that. So that is also another point, because there are a lot of people, like even the boss of Econet once said that he once encountered such a problem of whereby there are people who come from Norway, and they take him to police station, and then he does not even know who are these people, do they work for. They don't even tell him what is happening. And you cannot also rule out the issue of some robbers who might be just or some criminal elements who might just be doing their work and yet you know that they are, each and every time you find there are bogus police people that are named being in the Herald or in the other publications. This tells you that there are some loopholes that are there in our security detail, which leaves a lot to be desired in terms of their operations. Because right now, like even if you're in Zimbabwe, you find that you can be arrested by someone who's not a police officer, and they can tell you that I work with the president, and you can comply with them, not knowing that you are dealing with a bogus person. And that, to me, means that anything is possible. But for me to say that the intelligence system of our country is poorly, they are poorly trained, I think there are just elements that are inside the government that might be working, for their own self-aggrandizement, or that they might be working, or maybe for other individuals who do not want to, who are just unknown people who will be just working in order to fulfill a certain narrative that they want to play out to the public.
Okay, so I think the point I'm trying to make is, I feel that there is a percentage you can give to this story of the three women to say how likely is it that they were probably arrested by almost a secret, sort of like police aligned to ZANU-PF, and not the normal police. Is there a record that there's such a group that is not working for the police? Because as I told you in my story, when I was taken by the police, of course their methods were rough, but the first place they took me was the police station. I knew that I was dealing with police, and there was a riot police with a machine gun pointing at me. So I knew that I was talking to the police. I didn't know the reason, but I knew that I was dealing with the police. So is it not possible that there's another unit which is dealing with politics, which does not follow this normal, like the Team Ferret? The people are saying there's Team Ferret. Is it possible that Team Ferret exists?
That is a possibility. I think you and I, maybe if you go back to history, the SS team that Hitler used to use. It was not your normal police people, and the night of the long knives, where the likes of Göring were assassinated. These were people who were working not in the actual mainline police station of the German government. So that there are people who might be working for politicians who are just there to do the dirty work. Here in South Africa, we have the same issue whereby, in KZN, you have people that are the political killings, and sometimes you cannot even identify that are happening around even in the ANC. And these individuals cannot be identified. Who are they working for? Who are these people? Where do they come from? And what is their motive? Motive is unknown. A lot of people are being killed. So that is very much possible. You find that it happens. There are people who might be saying, okay, we want you to do our dirty work, but there are people that they know that are inside police that can allow them to do their dirty work. So anything is possible in these scenarios. And at the end of the day, the egg in the face falls in the government, because there are people, like right now, the presence of social media makes it blows the issue out of proportion, because everyone now is in the know-how by the minute. Everyone like when it's on Twitter, someone in America can make it trend there. That's the iron of things. So those platforms make it even damaging for the government, and the possibility of a team that is working for the politicians is there, and I cannot deny that. And that could be the team that is doing such dirty work.
Right, Mr. Jethro Rusike from JCTV Zimbabwe, and you've got your own YouTube channel, Facebook pages.
Yes.
If you're watching this, please go and subscribe to Mr. Jethro Rusike's YouTube channel and Facebook pages. So I think we should end this now. Is there anything else you want to say before we close?
Just one thing that I wanted to say, maybe I might be repeating myself. In this abduction, in my analysis, there are three key issues. The first issue is that the evidence presented by the government or through the ZBC, for me, is not conclusive. Then the second issue is that the MDC might have this, might have staged an abduction, sorry to use this word, but the evidence that is presented on the ground is not conclusive that they staged an abduction. Then the third issue is that there could be a team that is working against the same government, but they just go and do their operations, they come back and they hide, and by so doing, they are painting a bad picture to the public. In conclusion, what I want to say is that in all this, MDC must ask themselves, does this their approach, does it bring change to the people of Zimbabwe? The approach into politics, does it bring change to the people of Zimbabwe? That is another question. And also in ZANU-PF, the way how they are dealing with things, does it bring change into the people of Zimbabwe? Those are some of the questions that I have as I close. And I would like to say thank you so much for the opportunity to be on this platform.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Rusike, and thank you very much to everyone who's watching live on Facebook and on YouTube. We'll talk again very, very soon, and there are many videos that you have done this week, especially on the Chivu shooting. I encourage everyone to go to JCTV Zimbabwe and watch those videos. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll talk again very, very soon.
Thank you.